I came in here thinking I was going to hate this film. I'll keep it real. I came in here thinking that this film I was going to despise and I hate this freaking film. To my surprise, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I think one of the biggest differences in this, and I think the biggest difference that I noticed from the Whedon cut was Cyborg. But with Justice League, the story isn't as compelling and the acting isn't as great. So after the first hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, two and a half hours, getting into the third hour, I was like, oh. Four hours, man. 4 freaking hours. Look, this is a difficult film to sort of review. It's very difficult because it's like, where do you even begin? Like, where do you start? Because on one hand, it's difficult. Look, see, I am always of the mindset of let's get the director's vision out of there. Okay, I don't care about the standard cult and so forth. It's always important for a director's vision to be put out. Let's start there. The issue wasn't Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon wasn't the issue. He was a hired man. The issue was Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, you should have either waited for Snyder until he was fine mentally to finish the film, or you bring in a Joss Whedon or so forth and you start from scratch. So if you're to bring the new director, you bring them in to start from complete and utter scratch. Out of thought of a Guillermo del Toro. So just let me so look. Our first impression of the weekend. Maybe go into detail. This is better than Batman v Superman. I haven't seen Man of Steel in a while, so I can't really tell. It's definitely better than what was put out, which was a Frankenstein monster that was put out by Warner Brothers. But this was definitely better than Batman v Superman, because Batman v Superman I thought was a total horror show. So it felt more cohesive. But here's the thing. It was better to follow. And okay, no, before we get there, I came in here thinking I was going to hate this film. I'll keep it real. I came in here thinking that this film I was going to despise and I hate this freaking film. To my surprise, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So I think that in itself is a triumph, because as I was watching it, I was like, okay, this isn't. Yeah, like this just seems to be a bit more cohesive, make a bit more sense and so forth. Because I remember BVS, once Lex Luthor came into the mix, it just went off the freaking rails. That just went off the freaking rails, and then you saw Doomsday, and then everything just was like, okay, well, this was stupid. But for this, just in terms of introducing the characters, the pacing as well of it, it just seemed they took their time. But you can take your time when you have freaking 4 hours. And we'll get to the whole 4-hour thing, but let me just first deal with the film. You can definitely tell that this was definitely a lot more fleshed out. There was a lot more room to breathe. And I think one of the biggest differences in this, and I think the biggest difference that I noticed from the Whedon cut was Cyborg. Like, Ray Fisher's character, Cyborg, he was a crucial member of the set. Hence why Ray Fisher must have been so crazy that when he saw the film, similar to when Adrian Brody saw the finished version of A Thin Red Line and was like, wait a minute, so all that film I did and I'm hardly in the cut. So I think for Ray Fisher, he had like his own Adrian Brody moments with him, just we didn't put that stuff out. But yeah, he was crucial. As in, like, literally, the film hinged on his abilities, like how they were able to save the planets, they link him with the mother box, and to stop the 3 mother boxes from merging came from his pretty crazy ability, which is pretty crazy, So that wasn't even hinted at. in the Whedon cut. So that was a big, huge change, and I did like his backstory. I think when you just because I don't know about Cyborg, I never read Cyborg in the comics and so forth. So I was like, okay, who's this dude? But I think when you now saw his backstory, you saw his relationship with his father and his mom. I was like, okay, wow. I also found Joe Morton, again, film aficionados will know Joe Morton played the guy who was the head of Cybernet in Terminator 2. So he was the guy that literally created the freaking chip that led to the T800, T1000 and so forth. He was from T2, so he was pretty much playing the same kind of mad scientist character. So and I think that was obviously why I'm sure he must have been picked, because Snyder obviously would have obviously been a fan of T2, as everyone was. And so, hey, Joe Morton, let's just bring him in. So that's there. So with regards to the other characters, you see, and Flash seemed a bit weird in the first film. Also, Flash looks, anybody who watches football, Flash looks like a Bellerin, the Arsenal right back. Those guys, it's like a spitting image. So I think Flash in the original cut, but in this I just think like his character worked a bit better. And I don't know whether it was because of the kind of backstory he had, obviously, where he saved that girl and when he was applying for a job, or just because it was just a lot longer. Like, it just seemed as if his character seemed to merge a bit much more better as opposed to the cut that was released. So, all in all, it was better than I thought. You see, I can't come out and say this was an amazing film. It was not an amazing film. It wasn't a superb film. It wasn't a great film. But what I will say is there were some really good bits in this. There were some really good sections in this film. But again, as I told you, I'm not part of this whole Snyder fanship and so forth. So I'm not here to be like, oh my gosh, just as long as it was a thing. No, I'm a very, very, very passionate film fan, and I'm going to critique this in the most objective way possible. 4 hours. We can't get past that whole 4 hour thing. And here's the thing about the 4 hour runtime. I told you, I am a huge film guy. One of my favorite films of all time is Lawrence of Arabia. So I watched this film when I was a kid, and I watched it again as an adult a few years ago. It is one of my favorite films of all time, and I think it is one of the greatest films ever made, with one of the most outstanding acting performances, Peter O'Toole. And that film is pretty much almost 4 hours. So what's the difference between Lawrence of Arabia and this? Because I'll admit to you, the first hour I was drawn into this film. So I thought, okay, wow, this is good. I mean, I'm liking the whole backstories. The pacing is really good. They're taking their time. A very good intro. I think Snyder is good at doing intros. See, here's the funny thing. I didn't like Man of Steel. That was a superb intro. I didn't like BVS. That was a very good intro. So he's very good at intros. And I think the intro to this was very good. How he sort of just harkened back to the events of BVS. It was a very good intro. But by the time you now got to midway, I got lost. I was like, okay. So I said something. Did I get lost because it's too long? No. You look at Lawrence of Arabia. Why was I so hooked to every single minute of a near 4 hour film that has pretty much the same runtime as this? That's because Lawrence of Arabia has superior acting and a superior story. So because the acting is so amazing by Omar Sharif, Peter O'Toole, and I think Anthony Quinn might be there as well, and just all of the guys around there, and the story is so engrossing, the script is so good, that you don't even think of the runtime, you're just so engrossed into the film, similar to a Ben-Hur. But with Justice League, the story isn't as compelling, and the acting isn't as great. So after the first hour and a half, 2 hours, two and a half hours, getting into the third hour, I was like, oh, I was really feeling the time, because I'm not as grabbed or as hooked as what a Lawrence of Arabia would do with superior acting and a superior story. So if you're a WB, there's no way you can release a 4 hour film in the cinema. That's no way. So my issue is that how do you not get this 4 hours to 2:15, maximum 2:25, and that's pushing it. That's pushing it. 2:25, 2:30. That is pushing. It's going to be hard. So I think that there was some good stuff here, but this definitely needed to be condensed. I don't think that it needed to be 4 hours, and that's just where you have to have a very crafty editor as to maybe we do keep that Cyborg storyline because that's a really, really good storyline. And maybe we just cut away and cut a bit from the middle. Maybe we don't need so much of the Atlantis era. We don't need so much of the Amazonian era. Because I think that, you can cut the Amazon storyline, the Atlantis, skip some of it, but cut some of those in. But I think the reason why you have to keep the Cyborg thing in is because he's so crucial to the story. And I think that to be honest, even if you would say Batman and Superman are the main characters, he forms, I think, the emotional center of the film based on his relationship with his father. And I think one of the because obviously the film is broken down into parts, and I think one of the parts, the epilogue, is named something of our father. We listen to people and then the father. So that relationship that Cyborg has with his father is crucial. So yeah, I just think that I was feeling the runtime. I was feeling it. So, and also you look at the villains as well. I liked how they tried to give Steppenwolf some depth and try to sort of give him a little bit much more character, so you could sort of just feel a little bit about where he was coming from. But it's again, I don't like to compare, but it's hard not to compare because these guys are both driving down the same road. They're both walking down the same path. Thanos, when you just look at how Thanos looks, how he was created, that is why Thanos has actually entered into our culture. That's why you see Thanos memes, because it was such a well-realized character. Even if I feel like he talked a bit too much and had too much of a monologue, he was such a well-designed character that I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. So Steppenwolf and even Darkseid, they didn't seem fleshed out well enough, and they seemed a bit too one-dimensional, and I don't think they really went to town. So you really just felt like if they were just facing these almost faceless monsters. It didn't feel like they're facing an enemy. It's similar to Halo, which is what makes the Halo video game so amazing, because the Covenants are so well drawn and so well realized that when you have an enemy that you feel like you really know, it's amazing. Darth Vader. It's like Darth Vader was such a character. It's made Luke and Darth Vader's fight so amazing. Sauron, if you only saw it for a few minutes, Sauron's presence was so powerful that it's made the whole build-up to him a lot better. So I didn't really feel as if I had a connection to Steppenwolf or Darkseid, apart from, oh, this is just the bad guys. Superman. The best part of this film for me, the part of the film that actually almost gave me chills for me was when they realized that they can use the mother box to bring back Superman. And then like Flash goes like, we're all thinking it, like, I'm going to say it, and then you see the theme sort of build up, and then you see like a digital image of Superman basically flying up. I was like, wow. But the reason, that could have been an amazing moment. But the reason why that scene doesn't sell all the way and doesn't go all the way full on is because Man of Steel wasn't great. Henry Cavill isn't great. Superman isn't great. Again, they walk down the same paths. Captain America. When you first saw Captain America in Infinity War, you felt something. Why did you feel something? Because of how well Chris Evans played the part, because of how good First Avenger was, because of how good Winter Soldier was, because of how good Civil War was. So because those films were so good, Chris Evans played the part so well, when you saw him being brought back, it was like, it felt like something. But when you now actually saw Superman, Henry Cavill come back, I didn't feel the same impact, because he just hasn't been as an impactful a character as Chris Evans was. So that was problematic. But one thing I wanted to notice as well, because I want to be fair here, as good as the MCU is in the way that they've done their films and so forth, as I was watching this, I was like, damn, a superhero film that's serious. Yes, there are issues. It can be a bit cheesy, it can be a bit pretentious. There may be issues with the CGI and the fight scenes and so forth. But just tone, in terms of tone of where, it's serious. There doesn't have to be a joke. Yeah, there are jokes here and there, but it isn't a gag minute. No, we have to have jokes. Whereas in the MCU, there just seems to be like an insistence. There just seems to be a mandate of, no, we must have jokes here. We must have jokes. I think one of the biggest crimes that the MCU committed was Captain Marvel, which I still haven't watched, by the way, but I've heard. Based on what I heard, what they did to Nick Fury, for laughs, those two clownish pieces of crap directors, how they destroyed Nick Fury just for laughs, shows you the abject failure of the MCU, which has great things, Iron Man and Captain America, but ultimately is a failure because they want too many laughs. But it's refreshing, like, oh wow, this is serious. This is like, yeah, like there's a much more serious, no, we have a threat here, and this is what we're trying to do. Yeah, we can crack a joke here and there, but mostly this is real serious stuff. So that was a good and refreshing to see. So see, here's my thing here, action. It's tricky. It's tricky. Because it's tricky. You see, if I'm a director and I'm trying to film action, specifically action from comic books, it's very hard. Because for me, as an audience member, I want stuff to feel as visceral and as real as possible. No matter what you do, no matter what the genre, I want it to feel as real and visceral as possible. And when you just saw Superman and all the Justice League members totally dismember and lubricate Steppenwolf, which looked like freaking bullying, I got lost in the sauce because it just felt like there's CGI, computer effects, he's jumping up and everything. And you lose the effect because, see, when you read an action scene in a comic book, your imagination runs wild of what it's going to feel like and what it will do. But when you now put that into film, you no longer have that imagination. It's right there. And for me, it just doesn't quite hit as hard as my imagination does if I was to look at that same scene but through the panels of a comic book. So I don't know whether it's a thing of how you film it, of how you maybe get characters to use prosthetics. For instance, you just hire a real actor to be Steppenwolf, but you use like camera tricks like they did in Lord of the Rings to make them appear bigger, just so that you can keep things as real as possible and try to use as much real fights choreography as possible too. Because the realer something is, the more engaged an audience is going to be. There's no amount of CGI that can ever replicate stuff that is real, that actually is there. But I think all in all, man, I think, you see, now moving forward now, when you look at this film as a whole, I'm like, cool, I'm happy that Snyder just put this out there. It's out there and so forth. I don't see any future for this beyond this film. Because when you just see how it ends, I think it's Deathstroke that's sort of there, and you have like sort of a nightmare scene. And of course, you obviously have Martian Manhunter coming in. So obviously the idea is, you see Bruce Wayne going back into Wayne Manor. He's obviously going to now turn Wayne Manor into the Justice League headquarters with the table and so forth. And obviously Martian Manhunter will join, and obviously Green Lantern will join. Here's the thing though. I don't see any future for the Snyderverse on film, in theaters. WB, I think they've moved on. So I think their focus will now be on Matt Reeves' Batman film and this new Superman film. HBO Max. I think WB are going to look at the reactions to this. And then they said, if there is such a fervent hunger for this, and we can get so many subscribers to come and subscribe and come to this, and there is a desire for this, and we have the subscribers desiring for this, I don't think it is beyond the realm for WB via their HBO Max kitty to fund a Snyderverse purely for HBO Max. Because how do Netflix fund all of these movies? Via all their subscribers. So I think, obviously, WB will do their own thing. I think they're all under the whole thing, but the theater division of Warner Bros. Will be like, all right, this is what we do for the cinemas and so forth. Now, the HBO Max division will be like, because I think that come the end of this year, they will hit like 100 million, 200 million subscribers. As in, when you look at all of the streaming platforms, HBO Max is one of the sexiest. It is one of the sexiest out of all of them. So there will be a lot of people that will be on HBO Max. And now here's the thing. This 4-hour cut, I think a lot of DC fans will love this. I think they will enjoy this to a great extent. I think they will enjoy this. Regular fans, no. I think regular folk, no. And remember, HBO Max isn't just DC fans. HBO Max is HBO Max. As in, a lot of guys will get HBO Max because of the other general films that they don't want to watch there. So my thing is it worth funding this purely for DC fans? Because this is why I said you can't release this into cinemas, because a regular film goer is leaving the cinema halfway through. A regular film goer is falling asleep halfway through. They're not finishing this for our film. Hell no. Because they'll be like, okay, parademons, motherboard, boom, they're out. So because there's nothing to capture their interest. Because here's the thing: there are two ways you can go about doing this. Marvel have gone the one way, which is comedy. People love to laugh. People love to smile and be entertained. And I think MC know that is their secret sauce. Yes, you need good storytelling, good acting, but their secret sauce is we want to make you laugh. And we're going to have the comedy. So the regular film goer will always have a soft spot for MC because, hey, I know that I'm going to have a laugh here. The other way to go is quality drama. So amazing acting and amazing emotional dramatic story. Because really the two most popular genres are, for the regular film goer, is drama and comedy. People love to laugh. People love to be emotionally affected by something. One of the most popular films, watched for most of the most beloved films of all time, is The Shawshank Redemption, because of how emotional that film is. So DC, your route has to be the emotional route, which is why Joker was such a success, which is why it makes sense that you have to go the Joker route. And I think when you look at Matt Reeves' Batman, they're going that route of, no, we are going dark and dramatic. We're going dark and dramatic. Snyder wants to go that dark and dramatic route. He has the right idea, but not the right execution. That is, I think, the best way to put it. His general idea is right. It's like, this is serious. We are not trying to copy the MCU. We're not trying to copy Marvel. We are trying to be a lot more dramatic. We're not trying to tell as many jokes. We're trying to be a little bit more hardcore, much edgier. But I just think that the script isn't as accomplished and the acting isn't as accomplished. It goes back to my whole Lawrence of Arabia thing. Watching Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot for 4 hours, that's asking a lot. I think out of the whole Justice League crew, Ray Fisher is the best actor. Him and the kid who plays Flash, I think they're the best actors in this, But Gal Gadot, Cavill, and Ben Affleck for 4 hours, that's asking much, man. So you have to pick the right actors. You have to have a superb storyline to really succeed on the dramatic route, man. So all in all, man, as I said again, look, I was never going to love this film because Snyder's approach to doing this stuff doesn't sit well with me. But I was always going to come to this objectively without any bias. And for me, it's decent. Like this for me. Oh, this I'd give this like a 7. This gets a solid 7 for me. 7 out of 10. It's decent, and I think the triumph personally is it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was coming here thinking, oh, this is just going to be the same mess, and I really, really believe Snyder listened to criticism of his previous work, BVS, and I think he addressed that. I was like, all right, I'm going to address all the criticism that guys had, which is why I said that a Snyder Cut never existed. A lot of this stuff, I'm sure he filmed new stuff addressing some of the criticisms now. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Those are my beliefs, man. And tell me your thoughts. If you have seen the Snyder Cut and so forth, tell me your thoughts about it. Do you agree with what I say? Do you disagree with what I say? Tell me what you think, man. Like the vid, subscribe.